What needs to be done needs to be done. I feel like I prepped as if I'm gonna read news or something, or weather, or give a lecture. But in reality, I am gonna give a lecture on anime. So growing up, one of the two only animes I've watched was Sailor Moon and Pokemon. Pokemon only because my brother was into it, but Sailor Moon, it was the style of anime that was specifically targeted at younger girls who appreciate the candy colored visuals, simple narratives. There's still some conflict, but it resolves pretty quickly. It was an easily digestible anime. But that was when I was very young. I would say around 5 or 6. When I got into middle school in those years, up until the very end of my high school, the only anime I watched was Miyazaki films. And those were poppy enough that I didn't have any conflict. It was the pop culture thing to watch, like Titanic or Lion King. And I dug deep into why was I not an anime watcher? And I came to this realization that I just simply thought that it was not cool. It was not cool to be an anime kid, and I, being a neurospicy person, I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to be normal, so I was heavily invested in pop culture because that's what normal kids did. And anime was going against that big time. All of that changed once I grew out of that phase. I left high school, I went into university. I gained a little bit of critical analysis skills, got a little bit wiser, learned to judge for myself for the most part. In around 2015, I had that urge to start watching anime again, or I mostly wanted to learn Japanese. I have some historical proof of that in my self-made notebook that I, not to brag, but also to brag, I made it from scratch out of cardboard and old capri pants. I wish I kept those capri pants, but whatever. I wanted to learn Japanese, and the only show that I could think of that I remembered liking was Sailor Moon, so I started rewatching it in 2015. Never really went anywhere far. I didn't even rewatch the first season. It kind of fizzled out. Not until 2021 when I fell into the I want to learn Japanese again trap, but then I got into K-pop and then I started learning Korean, so that kind of abandoned again. So I never really got into anime until meeting my husband, who's always been an anime kid, but in a cool way. He would watch animes because they were different, because they felt that they were talking to you as an equal, not as an adult talking to a child. And that is very admirable. And we're gonna come back to what I feel about anime now and how I would evaluate, if I may, those people who are into anime now. Me and my husband decided to rewatch Sailor Moon together as a bonding experience. He loves anime, I loved Sailor Moon, so that seemed like a compromise that both of us enjoy. And I had this idea in my head to commemorate this precious moment with a painting of Sailor Moon. And that got me thinking about the whole anime uncool, cool dichotomy. Is Sailor Moon problematic in some senses of the word? It definitely is. I was much more invested in this idea in my head that anime was uncool back in the day, and now it is. I would say it is pretty cool to love anime. That got me asking the question of why. Why is that? Why was it so uncool? Why people were called weebs and nerds for liking anime? So there are a couple things. One is a cultural bias and othering anything that doesn't look like something that you're used to. Western was the mainstream, it was the center point of desirable entertaining media, and anything that was not resembling this was in the periphery, therefore weird, non-desirable. If you like that, why would you like that? That's uncool. If you dig deeper, it is a deeply ingrained racism towards Eastern cultures, because the tradition of anime is a reflection of Japanese culture, of how emotions are expressed, of what narratives are being told, what character tropes there are, overall society's values and beliefs and missions, etc., etc., etc. Anime was just reflecting something that was not a usual sight to see for a Western eye, or for an eye that was trained to like Western style art. There are a couple articles that talk about this, why it seemed uncool, because in middle school in early 2000s, cool was a currency. a high value, and I'm sure you can relate to that as well. If you were passionate about something, obsessive about something, you were by definition uncool. You were attached to something that didn't seem cool. You had to be cool with everything to be considered cool, hence the cool. Anime fans are passionate people who love their shows to the point of dressing up as them, cosplaying as anime characters. And of course, it's a lot broader than I'm portraying it right now. For the sake of this intro to the painting that I'm gonna get to in a moment, I need to zero it down to a smaller chunk. So today I decided to paint a painting of Sailor Moon to pay homage to Sailor Moon as a show that I liked as a child, to apologize for my disrespect that I harbored for most of my teenage years towards anime as a whole, but also commemorate this beautiful moment of me and my husband bonding over Sailor Moon. Because of my husband, I turned into this person who goes to anime conventions a lot, and I am enjoying the hell out of it. To kind of summarize my whole view of anime now, how I feel about Sailor Moon in particular, I even have it on my iPhone case. Having researched this a little bit, going down memory lane and how I felt and how I viewed something, I feel a tremendous respect for those kids who found anime outside of Japan, obviously. I feel this tremendous respect for thinking outside of the box, for finding things that are different, for seeking those deeper narratives, just being early adopters. You were the trailblazers of turning this niche in the Western culture genre of anime into a mainstream where asking a question, what's your favorite anime, is not met with any disdain or a weird look of any kind, but with a, oh, it's Dragon Ball Z.